Welcome to episode 148 of the Mug Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary.
Hi. It's early, girl.
It's early.
Because my beautiful son, I went to his rehearsal this week. Let me tell you something about my kids. They are...
amazing.
Fucking amazing. Oh. Like the most incredible children on the planet.
Aww.
Including yours. I mean, it's so weird when you have kids too, because you have all of these, which is why, all right, I won't go down a darker road, but like when you have children, all of your dreams and aspirations of like, what can they be? What will they do? What will they, like all parents have that,
yes,
you know, that like idea of like my kid's what could they accomplish?
Yes.
And you always, you shoot for the stars hoping that, please God, right? Like I just want them to like do well in school, just do well in school. But then they both do incredible things like outside of that. My daughter is like, aww, I think an incredible artist. She makes hilarious cartoons and
she's
so fucking
so
funny.
Talented.
Yeah, so funny. She's very smart. She just got first place at a countywide speech competition.
Ooh.
She does prose, which is basically like performing.
Yeah.
And she does a section of the book Holes, and she has to do all three characters. And it's basically she gets up there, she changes her body, to be these three different characters and her voice, and she fucking kills it and gets first place, comes up with a medal.
Wow.
It's fucking incredible.
That's
hard
to do.
She's kind of a shy girl, but also like the fact that when she first performed it, like did it for me, like which showed me what she was doing, I was like, who is this kid? Right? Like your kids do things, you're like, what the hell? Right? Like your son plays piano and you're like, holy shit. Or like the swimming and all of that. Like it's just like, I can't believe my kids want to go out and do things. It's just wild. But
it's so lovely to see them grow.
It is. And my son plays hockey, which he's phenomenal at. Like, insane hockey player. And then, which was a shock, because we live in South Florida. Like, it's insane that we're playing hockey down here, but I'm here for it. But he is in a drama club at school, which he joined on his own. And he's a bit of a ham, if you can believe that. Like, I don't know.
Can believe it.
I don't know where he gets this from at all. But he is doing he's doing drama competition today. And he is in a skit with two other boys, two of his friends, and they memorize all the lines. My son knows the whole thing, but they do like 3-minute little bit.
This.
And my son is the funniest kid in the goddamn group. Like, he has the funniest lines. They're stuck in an elevator, and my son's going, yeah, it's a zombie apocalypse, that's probably what it is. And then he takes out an egg salad sandwich to eat it, like in this clothes, and they're like, it stinks, and he's like, this is good. Like, he's pretend eating, and my ex-husband was sitting next to me at the rehearsal, and I kept grabbing his arm, because I was like, it's so fucking wild to see your kid up there doing something where you're like, holy shit.
I love
Isn't
that.
it?
No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's really cool is, you have those moments where you're like, oh my God, I miss when they're babies.
Yes.
I love seeing like the people that they're turning into.
Absolutely.
It's so cool to see that evolution. Yeah. It's just like, wow, like, and they're their own person.
Yeah.
And it's, because you don't know what they're going to be like, personality-wise.
Yes.
And it's really cool to see them sort of come into their own. Like, that part's been really awesome. And having, like, a different relationship where you're, like, laughing with them in a different way than you did when they were little. And, and like, actually, like, building that relationship. I love it.
My daughter made me laugh the other day because my son loves these, like, anime books. And so we went to Barnes & Noble to get him a couple more. And the girls in anime are stacked, right? Dying, right? And so the cover of one of them, the girl had this little
the manga.
Yes. This girl, she had a little schoolgirl outfit.
Oh, they're always in those cute outfits,
of course. Yeah. And her boobs were out like this, And so my son was like in the line to check out. He was like, "Look at this one," right? Like, look at it. And my daughter goes, "Damn, her tits are out." And I said, "What is that?" There's people behind us. I was like, "But you can't talk like that." And she goes, "Her titties?" I go, "No!" And meanwhile, she's dying. dying laughing. And I'm like, please. But that's how I talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, put those titties away. Like, I say shit like that all the time. All the time.
I love it.
She knows it's inappropriate and she just wants to make me laugh, which it did. But I was just like, what?
Oh my God. I love it. I love it.
It's the greatest. Yeah. So what's going on with you? How are you doing? You got a little bit of a tickle in your throat. You sound a lot better than you did earlier in the week.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely much better than I was. I had this awful sore throat and tiny little cold. Mm-hmm. But it's,
there's something small like this going around. I've heard of a couple different people that
And then there's like some kind of flu going around. So that's also going around the schools. So I'm like, please, Lord, don't let this hit me. So I got to get all my shots.
Yeah.
Protect myself from these, grimy children.
Yeah, that's right. I only have a couple of things, and they're not really politically related. Do you have any?
The only thing like political is, I put my Voters Decide shirt on, and this is going to come out the day after election. Yeah. And so whatever happened, it's because the voters made it happen. Mm-hmm. They went out and voted, and whatever party got those people to the polls. Yeah. And I'm just really afraid. I don't know why. At first, I was like so excited at the potential for like a Linda Thompson-Gonzalez win over Chip LaMarca in a local race. And now I have this overwhelming fear that we have significantly somehow dropped the ball and we're going to lose Broward County and it's going to be bad. That's where I'm at. I'm hoping, or like there's like races where there are people where like, oh, they're definitely going to get it, and that now I'm afraid like on the local level, right, commission seats and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm really afraid because there's an orchestrated effort to work from the bottom up. Yeah, smart, and it's smart. Yeah, it's smart, brilliant. It's smart. It makes sense. It's stuff that we've talked about for years. That the Broward and the Florida Democratic Party. We just don't do it, and we don't do it in Florida. And we can't blame anyone but ourselves. Absolutely, we can't.
Well, I had a rant about the Broward Party last week, and so I stand by every single word of it. And here's the thing: we have good people.
There's incredible people.
Incredible people, who none that I know of are sitting on the Broward Executive Board, party board, like none. Yeah. But there's good people who will have not given up hope and will continue to fight. And I say, God bless you. Yeah. I say, God bless you. Because they have out-registered us. Yep. Republicans have out-registered Democrats for the first time in decades in Florida. That happened over the summer. Yep. They are out-voting us right now at early voting. Yep. And mail-in ballots. And mail-in ballots. Which, by the way, has never happened. Democrats are always the lead on early votes and
But that to me is a strategy. That is like, people want mail-in ballots?
Listen.
Now we're going to be the ones to
Here's what you can count on with the Republican Party at all levels. They will have a plan and they will execute it. Yep. And they will pull people together and they'll execute it. And that is what they've done. They have put a plan together and they're executing it beautifully. They are. And so I said that to Alfredo this week on the phone. He was telling me there this many Republicans, this many, and I said, they have outworked us, they have outvoted us, and they will win. They will win, and they deserve to win. Right. Because they put the work in. If you don't put the work in and act like every single day is election day, or every day, act like every day you should act like tomorrow is an election. Yeah. And it is imperative to register voters and get people organized and get people voting.
And engage people.
Yeah.
Because engage young people.
We heard about an event this week where the Republican Party was talking to college students and sounding like they were moderates. Yeah. They weren't doing the whole hair on fire, banning books, don't say gay. They weren't doing that. Because fuck immigrants, smart. Fuck women. No. They're very middle of the road moderate when they're selling their goods. And it depends on the audience. Right? Like they know who to talk to. Did you see the new DeSantis commercial?
Which one?
The one where God made him on day 8. I got to get my phone. Let me pause this for a second. I'm going to grab my phone because you're going to fucking die. It's insanity. It's insanity.
I gotta get out of the state.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
I'm getting out of the state. Bye. Bye. I'm gonna go move. I'm moving. Hillary, you would like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, I'm ready to go.
Listen, you seriously, you would like, while you're looking this up,
yeah.
you would love Pittsburgh because it's got beautiful.
Listen, I'm ready to
bands. It's got bands.
I'm ready
to
go anywhere. I'm
beautiful art museums.
Listen, fine.
I'm bringing.
I gotta tell you, you don't even have to sell me. Tell me we're gonna go live in a cabin in the middle of the woods somewhere, and I'm like, okay. I don't need to see another band again. But if I get pregnant and I need an abortion, I'd like to know there's somewhere nearby safe that I could do that. Is that a place we can go to? You know what I mean? I'd like to know my children go to school and read. By the way, Broward County, a book that has a Martin Luther King speech in it, a picture of I Have a Dream.
Yeah.
There's a picture of the crowd and the Moms for Liberty. They want that book taken out because the picture of all of the people in the crowd would make white children uncomfortable. That's a quote. That's a fucking quote.
That's it. I can't.
They're banning books for no fucking reason. It's just dumb bullshit. Girl, wait till you hear this commercial. You're gonna die. This is a...
This is a real ad?
This is a real ad. It came out yesterday. What is it? November 4th. And it's all black and white, and it shows pictures, different photographs, and every time it says, and God made a leader, it shows a picture of DeSantis. Okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? You're not ready. Try to hold your comments until the end. But it's, I think 2 minutes. Here we go.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a protector. So God made a fighter. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, kiss his family goodbye, travel thousands of miles for no other reason than to serve the people, to save their jobs, their livelihoods, their liberty, their happiness. So God made a fighter. God said, I need someone to be strong, advocate truth in the midst of hysteria. Someone who challenges conventional wisdom and isn't afraid to defend what he knows to be right and just. So God made a fighter. God said, I need somebody who will take the arrows, stand firm in the wake of unrelenting attacks, look a mother in the eyes and tell her that her child will be in school. She can keep her job, go to church, eat dinner with friends, and hold the hand of an aging parent, taking their breath for the last time. So God made a fighter. God said, I need a family man. A man who would laugh and then sigh, and then reply with smiling eyes when his daughter says she wants to spend her life doing what Dad does. So God made a fighter.
Next generation of fascists. That's it.
Now, I love... See what those... Okay,
that is the fucking weirdest thing I've ever... I was like, this is real?
God said...
So, yeah.
God said...
It's first of all...
Because God sounds echoey.
Yeah.
God is a man who sounds
and by the
echoey,
way,
and we need a fighter.
By the way, who's God? Your God?
Yeah.
Like, what fucking God are you talking about? By the way, I retweeted, I'm like, I love that God's a feminist. It's like, we're gonna make sure that working mom can go to work, send her kids to school, go out and hang out with friends. You know what I mean?
That's what they're trying to reach the women.
Yeah, be there for their parents as they're dying.
Because at the end, it's the daughter looks up to be everything. See, we're not trying to hold women back.
No. Right.
We want them in leadership.
I want to do what Dad does. I want to be a fascist.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah.
That was the most pretentious,
but also why
and disgusting.
You don't need it. Evangelicals are with you. The religious people are with you. You don't need to make a commercial about God.
But that was
it disenfranchises millions of people.
Heard.
It's fucking weird.
He's a fighter.
Weird.
He's
weird.
Not a fighter.
By the way, the election...
He's a pretender, like him in that stupid JAG outfit. Or not JAG.
This is 4 days before the election. Why do you even need to put an ad out like that? It makes no fucking sense. Why do you need to do that? He's gonna win. But why do you need to further serve this message? It's like the most bizarre thing I've ever heard.
I think it's their way to reach women. I think that
Do you think that's touching to women?
Somehow, like family and women working and with their friends, and my daughter can grow up to be this strong thing. Like, it's weirdo.
It's weird.
I'm sorry.
He's weird.
I'm sorry.
But he's
like,
weirdo.
You know, I'm sorry, but like I know that I'm always like ragging on religion, but like it's weird. Like we're slipping into weirdness.
Everybody, there's weird. A reason for it.
Everybody want to believe, but like just get it away from me.
Religion's created to contain the masses and curb hysteria. That's what it's there for. When people are walking around going, "What's the meaning of life?" They gave them an answer.
Right.
They said, "You don't worry about, don't fear death. I'm going to give you something to look forward to." That's what it's created
for. To keep people in line,
and
right?
You don't
behave,
and now,
you're going to go to hell.
That's
you're
right.
going to be,
and here's these rules.
With your family here.
That's right. So like, but here's the thing: why would you make a video? And why am I asking this question? We all know the answer.
With a pretend
it's just to continue to divide people and
with
keep people
God's voice. And I love that it's just like this hokey, like God from the sky.
But here's the other thing: people are saying that it's what's it called?
When you're against religion.
No. And it's like when you renounce.
Denounce?
No.
Excommunicated.
No. When you say something bad about God and like his teachings and
blasphemy?
Blasphemy. Thank you. Oh God. You see why I need her here. People are saying it's blasphemy for him to say like basically he was anointed and created by God.
Where
to
are the
save
real
the
religious people?
Yeah, he was born. And also, why would you ever make a commercial? Think about the ego of Ron DeSantis right now. Making a commercial saying God created him.
I know.
To come here. He's basically like, God's talking to me.
Fighter.
God's talking to him.
Yeah. Give me a break. But this is piggybacking off of the Trump stuff.
Oh yeah.
Where like they see, like there was that whole group like that they believe that Trump is the savior to come and do what needs to be, like there's some connection to something in the Bible.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
It's
like
fucking
so he's
wild.
playing off of that cuckoo-ness. It's cuckoo.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, but we need to start like I want to ban the Bible. Can that be? I mean, I'm sure it's already on the banned books list, but
I said it before and I'll say it again. If you're in elected office and you tell me how God feels about something that you're voting on, you're in the wrong job.
Yeah.
There's plenty of jobs for you.
Go
it's
be
not
a
Congress.
Person.
Yeah. You should not be in Congress. You should not be working at a state capitol. You're in the wrong line of work.
Yeah, and I feel like
that's not cool.
I feel like in Catholicism, like with it, because isn't he Catholic? Like is the Pope down with this?
No.
Where's the Pope?
You get.
I'll get the Pope on the horn. We need to ask him some questions.
I do not like it.
Yeah, I know.
I do not like this ad.
Listen,
DeSantis is bad for Florida.
Listen,
thank you, Pope.
The eighth creation of the wonder of the world is Ron DeSantis. The Pope's gonna be like, "Excuse me, I'm the line. I'm the line."
I will thank you for your call.
You're
Tina.
stepping over the Pope.
Tina, thank you for your call. I will now get God on the horn.
Yeah,
because he does talk to me. Yeah, directly because I'm the Pope.
Oh.
He told me it's okay to abuse children.
Yeah. Oh God. Get us all out. Get us out.
Hire pedophiles.
Oh
and
God.
God bless Ron DeSantis.
Well, I mean, Ron DeSantis protects Matt Gaetz. I mean, so maybe, it all fits. It all fits.
They all are abusers.
Oh my God. Get me out.
But as long as they go to confession every Sunday, the Lord walks with them.
Yeah.
Jesus forgives.
Yeah, do 5 Hail Marys and a Glory Be, and it's fine.
And go abuse more kids.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Okay, before we gotta start. But before we start, we had not mentioned that we have new Odd Pods members.
Oh!
How cool is this?
Hey!
So we want to welcome Ever Trending Story. The Ever Trending Story.
Oh, look at that. I like it.
I like their song. Beer in Front, which is awesome. He reviews a beer every week. It's like a little short podcast, but it's so good. And he's got that amazing Chicago accent, which I love. Dave, I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's got a fun little Instagram, and his wife makes fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And then, of course, Grab 'em by the Brisket.
I love the title of that show.
Yeah, and they have a bunch of hosts, and they have great. I don't eat meat, y'all.
The food looks so good,
and it looks so good, and they know exactly what they're talking about. But here's one of the things they were talking about were like sides, at the barbecue, and I was like, this is my jam. All right, I'm into a mac and cheese. I'll get into a coleslaw. I'll get into a baked
mac
beans.
and cheese bake.
Let's go.
I love a mac and cheese bake.
You'll hear new promos. We'll have 3 new promos that we had Ever Trending Story in our episode last week.
Yay!
So check them out and give them some love. Follow them on social media and. There's so many podcasts out there.
Yes.
But it's nice to have a little family.
Yeah, we have a little family.
Yeah.
Aww.
I love them all. So, and by the way, last Saturday, speaking of Odd Pods, last Saturday I met Lauren.
Oh, yes.
Lauren from Beard Owl, and I met Russ from Infectious Groove, the podcast. They're both on Odd Pods, and they're a couple. And they came down to West Palm Beach to go see Stevie Nicks for Lauren's birthday. And then I had dinner with them the next night. And they are delightful.
Aww.
Absolutely delightful.
We need to plan I'm going to say summertime because, I'm going to be selfish. But a summertime, like, you know how they do, like, family barbecue, like, family reunion, summer barbecue?
Yeah.
We need to do, like, a summer family barbecue, Odd Pods, like, meetup.
I
And grab them by
that.
the brisket can, barbecue.
Y'all can do the work. Y'all do the work. We'll just sit back and eat all that.
We'll chip in.
Yeah. But Lauren is as bubbly and delightful in person as you could imagine. Like,
Aww.
I was just very smitten with how sweet and cute she is.
Aww.
So, and she's got a lot of stuff going on her podcast right now because the Weird Al movie came out.
Oh, yeah.
Which looks really funny. I like a Daniel Radcliffe.
Well, he's a great
joint.
Oscar. He's
actor.
Oscar. Actor. My God, I can't. I'm tired.
It's very early. Also, I just wanted to mention that we had Hillary Cassell on the podcast last Friday. Please check it out. It's a longer episode, but
she's amazing.
She's amazing. My cousin commented and said it was one of the best episodes that we've had. I agree, and I really think that we talk about Republicans going after local seats. Like this is the kind of candidate and person that's going to be. She'll be elected. It's a heavily Democratic seat. She'll go. In, she'll win on Tuesday or tomorrow. Yesterday. But this is the kind of local talent that exists all over Broward County and all over every state, where people are just putting their noses down and doing the work. Right. And then all of a sudden they're like, maybe I should run.
But we need to tap into that.
We need to be mining for that kind of, Hillary Cassell, if she hadn't stood up and said, I want to run for office, we never would have met her. There's no recruitment. There's no building of a bench. Right. And this is someone who's going to make an incredible impact in Tallahassee and help so many people. And we talked about working across the aisle, which I think is really important. And I think happens more often than we even know about. It has to.
Yeah.
So, it's a great episode. I love her story. I love her story with being diagnosed bipolar and her struggles with mental health. I'm very similar on the path that she is. So when she talks about it, it's incredible to me that she's as open as she is, that she does the work that she needs to do with herself, and then shares it so other people can also recognize that maybe they need help, or maybe they can go talk to a therapist, or they can figure it all out. And I think it's just
and being seen. Like, I think that's the most important thing.
That was a good point that you had made. Yeah,
I don't know.
Make mental health about people who are surviving with it and living with it and thriving, and not the people who are doing mass shootings. Like, come on.
Right. Or any act of violence, it's just, and she said it, that a lot of times, more often than not, that people living with mental illness are the ones who are suffering violence more than enacting the violence. And I think that's an important message to get out too.
Right.
Because we have this idea of,
here's this person who's in and out of the system. Let's try to find out what's going on with them mentally, instead of just keep continuing to lock them up every second.
Right.
All right, you're first this week.
All right, so today I'm going to tell you the story of Judge Lance Mason.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm going to just say, trigger warnings for the whole story. Okay. I didn't realize it was going to go this route, and then it ended up going this route, so my apologies.
Yeah, you have how there's things called gaydar? Tina has sadar. Everything's sad.
I'm sorry.
Trigger.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right, so Lance Mason served in the Ohio House and Senate before his appointment to the Cuyahoga County Court. but his violent actions move him from the bench to the defendant's table.
Oh, no.
So our story takes place in Cleveland, Ohio, just a few years ago. This, like, kind of, the big incident happens around 2018. So some basic background for Mason is that he earned his law degree in 1992 from the University of Michigan. And I really don't have much after that, except that he served as assistant county prosecutor for a few years in the 90s, and that's according to CNN. From 2002 to 2006, he served in the Ohio House. From 2007 to 2008, he served in the Ohio Senate.
Okay.
But then he left that in 2008 because he gets appointed to the Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas by then Ohio Governor Ted Strickland. So even from early in his career, he's like in, working for the county process. So he's in like sort of local politics.
That's how you can get appointed.
That's how you get around.
You.
Yeah. So Mason was married to Aisha Frazier, and from all accounts, she was pretty incredible. She was an educator at an elementary school in Shaker Heights. Her principal, Danny Young, described Fraser as, quote, kind, loving, compassionate, dedicated, and an amazing mother with a wonderful sense of humor.
Oh, God.
So
I feel it.
What I'm going to tell you now should have been the major incident, but unfortunately it's not. So in 2014, Mason attacked his lovely, wonderful, incredible wife, Aisha. Schaefer's Cleveland article detailed the attack, noting that Mason punched her repeatedly, over 20 times.
Oh my God.
Over 20 times.
20 times. What in the fuck could have brought that on?
Right. And also slammed her head into the dashboard of the car and the window as well, choked her, and even bit her.
What the fuck?
Yeah. She was beaten so badly that she needed facial reconstruction.
What in the fuck?
So I have to say that again. She needed facial reconstruction because he beat her so badly.
Which is not the first time. That's not out of nowhere.
So the charges in that case, according to WKYC Studios, he had 2 counts of kidnapping because then he took off with they had children.
Oh!
Took off with the kids.
No!
3 counts of felonious assault, 1 count of domestic violence, and 2 counts of endangering children. So this judge, he's a judge, remember. He is a judge. And not that we should hold our elected officials at a higher standard, but this is a judge who I'm sure has seen and studied various cases. You know what I mean?
Domestic violence.
Yeah. So Mason got sentenced in 2015. And when he was sentenced to only 2 years, he resigned his seat on the bench. However, I want to say that while he was awaiting trial, he didn't resign. So a lot of times, and we talked about this with the person I had last week, that they wait until after the trial is over and whether it's a guilty or not guilty because they want to collect that paycheck. And he was collecting $121,000 for salary while he's awaiting trial.
Well, he deserves it. It's his money. Shouldn't he get that?
I mean,
I don't understand. What's the problem?
But then when he gets sentenced, then he's like, okay, I'm going to resign, right? And because our justice system is, garbage when it comes to protecting women.
Don't fucking do this.
Mason was out in 10 months.
What the fuck?
10 months.
Oh my God.
10 months for attacking his wife to the point where she needed surgery.
Lovely.
To me, this is attempted murder.
Of course it is.
Like when you beat someone to the point where they are so broken and you're slamming their head in glass and something, your intent is to kill them.
Was this happening in front of the kids too?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Great guy.
Wonderful. Right. This isn't just a beating to me, He's out of control.
Yeah. And again,
out of control.
I guarantee that this was not the first time. This was not the first time.
So Schaefer also reported that he had his law license suspended, right? Not revoked.
Excuse me?
It was just suspended. I don't get it. So
women don't matter.
Women don't matter.
They don't matter.
In 2018, they still don't matter.
No.
Right?
Hashtag me too.
Now, another article by Schaefer reported that when he was arrested for the beating, the cops went to his house. And guess what they find there?
Oh, guns.
Semi-automatic rifles.
Big surprise.
Several different types of shotguns, scopes, handguns, a knife, smoke grenades, bulletproof vests, a sword, and 2,500 rounds of ammunition.
If he kills his wife, I'm telling you right now, Tina.
So this motherfucker. This next part even gets me. He gets out of prison, and the city gives him a job as Minority Business Development Director. He gets hired by the city.
But so a friend maybe.
Yeah, of course, because they all know him as a judge and as like, an elected official.
Why can't we shun people like this?
I don't understand.
Shun them.
I don't get it.
They should be so shunned that they can't leave their house without someone yelling at them.
I don't get it. Why does he get to work for the city? Because the city's got that good pension. It's a good job. And he's the director, so he's making good money again. Not that he shouldn't have to make money, but like your license is suspended. You've beaten your wife, and I'm sure those people in the city knew who his wife was.
Of course, he should be embarrassed.
How dare they hire this man? It's just so, to me, disrespectful and disgusting. So you beat your wife, and you have your city connections, and you get this good gig. Like, I can't stand it. So, NPR cited Mark Namick of Cleveland.com, who commented on the hiring. Quote, "The decision by Mayor Frank Jackson's administration to give Mason a job after Mason's early release from prison on wife-beating charges is an astounding snub."
I'd say.
And this is a guy from the newspaper.
I wouldn't want him near women.
Who from the city is speaking out saying, are you out of your mind?
I wouldn't want him near a woman.
And those appointments, right, to get these jobs, if it's the mayor doing it, like the mayor's office, like they know that his arrest record. I don't know.
They don't care.
So the Domestic Violence Institute director, Margot Lindauer, told Leigh Carroll of Refiner 29, quote, "We find that the most dangerous time in a relationship where there has been reported domestic violence is during separation. And men of status often receive leniency in sentencing." So they were talking about this issue of him getting released, and it's because he has that status in the city. Because he was this elected official, right? People are like, oh, well, we know him. We're going to, and again, you're not above the law. Yeah. You don't get to call in favors just because you served. Like, you have to be treated like everybody else.
And they know him. They know him in public.
Right.
They know him.
They don't know him behind closed doors.
They don't know what, and clearly, if he's in a car, outdoors, beating his wife in front of his children, you can only imagine what is happening in the house.
Right.
So to say that you don't know, that's not, he said, she said, she had to have facial reconstruction surgery.
This story just upsets me.
This is a real thing.
So in 2018.
God damn it. I could see it, please.
I know, I'm sorry.
Ugh.
According to Schaefer's and others who reported this story, Fraser, Aisha, was dropping her kids off because they're separated to Mason, who was living with his sister at the time. Allegedly, he told Fraser that he was going to take the kids to their martial arts, after school stuff. But when she arrived, he was waiting for her. He knew she was dropping the kids off, and he set out to kill her. And he did this in front of the children who were 8 and 11 years old.
Oh my God!
He jumped into her. So, when he attacked her, he stabbed her, like, repeatedly. Then he jumped into her car, sped off. He ends up crashing into a cop car. The cop ends up with serious injuries as a result of the accident, but he doesn't stop there. He takes off running. He's finally arrested. Meanwhile, his wife is bleeding out in the driveway with the kids. He
pulled her body out of the car and got in her car.
Yeah. Mason's sister is there, and she reports the stabbing to 911. In the 911 footage, this is going to make me upset. Her little 8-year-old, I know, I'm sorry, it's early, but her little 8-year-old daughter is in the background saying, "Where's mommy? What did you do to mommy?" And then Mason says to her, "She's dead."
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then what's even awful is on that body cam footage from the cops, he's, screaming to the children, I'm sorry, he's screaming when he takes off. So he's charged with aggravated murder, violating a protection officer, grand theft, felonious assault on a peace officer, and he pleads guilty. Immediately. Like, there's no, he's like, I did this. And according to Corey Schaefer's article for Cleveland.com, Mason told the judge at the time, John G. Haas, I wish to take responsibility for my crimes. And a Cleveland 19 article by Chris Anderson noted that he took the plea so that his youngest daughter wouldn't have to testify in court and put her through that trauma.
Fuck you.
I know.
The trauma that you fucking caused when you murdered her mother in front of her. She's going to have trauma the rest of her life. She doesn't need to be in court to tell what she saw.
Can you imagine these babies?
She's fucked. You piece of shit. She lost the only person who fucking loved her without every fiber of her being.
Everything that I read, you selfish prick. This woman was incredible. Loved her kids. Schaefer reported that the Cuyahoga County prosecutor, Michael O'Malley, stated, quote, domestic violence and this kind of domestic abuse crosses all socioeconomic classes and races, and the reality is we see it too often in this community. By making him accept every count, we're attempting to send the message to the people in this county that it will not be tolerated.
Unless you're a judge and go to jail for 10 months for beating the shit out of your fucking wife.
Her, yeah. Right? I mean, he's part of the city. He didn't hire him, but he's part of the city that hired him.
Yeah. Fuck you.
And 10 months, he should have been in jail. It should have been, and I'm going to talk about the restraining order.
What the hell did this woman do, by the way? What did she do to make this fucking guy? Like, what is it? And I don't mean like she was doing something. Like, what in his head was going on?
He couldn't have her anymore.
You know what I mean? Like, what is going on with people like this?
So Cleveland 19 reported that Mason was sentenced to 35 years to life, meaning he will not be eligible for parole until after 35 years. At the sentencing, Mason stated, this is according to Cleveland 19, I have failed my daughters. Every day I live, I know that my daughters will live without their mother and father, and that tears me apart.
Fuck you.
It's like...
Go fuck yourself.
What?
Yeah.
You didn't think about that.
Nope.
Because you had time to think about it. You beat her severely and you went to jail for it. Like, did he not have to take anger management? I don't, and the restraining order part, which again I'm going to get to, like, upsets me. But Fraser's mother, Aisha's mother, Millicent Fraser, told Mason at sentencing, "What a monster you are." Like this poor mother. God. Prosecutor O'Malley stated, quote, "While the final chapter of this horrific case is now ended, the pain and suffering Lance Mason inflicted upon Miss Fraser's parents, daughters, family, and friends will last forever. She was it's just sad. She was an irreplaceable inspiration who touched the lives of an entire community. Our thoughts remain with her loved ones as well as with Officer Flint, who continues to struggle daily as a result of these barbaric actions." And then Ron Williams, Fraser's boyfriend, had this to say, according to the New York Times. It got taken away by a coward and an abuser enabled by a system that let her and her children down in an unforgivable way. No one stood up to fight for her.
That's why he's mad. Boyfriend.
Right?
She's got a boyfriend.
So the aftermath of this, the Ohio House passed Aisha's Law in 2021. And the law, according to Laura Hancock's Cleveland article, would, quote, change how domestic violent cases are handled in the criminal justice system, beginning with police and through sentencing offenders. So this law would require police to do a screening of domestic violence calls. Like, so when they come in and they're like, okay, this is a domestic violence, and they have this screening process now, that will help determine the lethality of the crime, especially noting if the victim is in danger of being murdered by the person at some later date. So they'll look for things like strangulation or other violence, so that beating that occurred would have been like on this sort of like list, like this scale, right? That a strong indicator of future violence that could lead to death. And she could have then been more protected. Like, what is it? Has anybody been hit, or, or are they just screaming at each other? Did he choke her out? Like, so those are the things to go, okay, like this is like a really escalated thing. And then they can have a marker that this guy is very violent. It's noted in all the records. So if she goes for a restraining order or all of those things can then help offer her more protection. And other folks, because we know that not just women face domestic violence, but anyone facing domestic violence from a partner. So the thing that I thought was interesting in the case is John Haas. He was actually a retired judge, according to Schaefer's Cleveland article. And the other judges all knew Mason. So obviously, like, they had to recuse themselves. So they had to bring in this retired judge.
Dude, yeah.
Another thing I found interesting is the plea deal. So we've seen this on this show where if someone does a plea, like charges get dropped in exchange for the plea, but not in this case. The prosecutor's office was like, we're not dropping any charges. I don't care. Like, you want to plea out? We're not dropping anything. And he took the plea. And I think it was maybe like death, maybe. I don't know if they have the death penalty, but they didn't offer him anything. They're like, we're not dropping any charges. And the thing is, she had a restraining order against him from that beating. But Mason's sister worked to help Mason get custody of the kids, and because she worked to do that, then Fraser had to like have contact with him for exchanging the children. Oh my God. So if that didn't happen, like, she wouldn't have had to even deal with him. I like, why did he get custody?
Would you do that for your brother? Would you do that for your brother? Me neither. And I love my brother.
Me too.
But I'd be like, bro, you need to get your shit together.
You beat the hell out of her. No, leave her alone. Leave the kids alone. Let them heal.
Mental. She's mental too. What happened in that fucking house to those kids? You know? You know what I'm saying? Something's wrong with those two.
So that's the story of the murder of Aisha Fraser by Judge Lance Mason. I'm sorry. I was doing something else, and then I came across this, and I was like, what?
Oh my God, it's fucking wild.
He's a horrible human being. Yeah. And this is someone who was presiding over cases and making decisions, and he's a hothead, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. He should have been in jail.
Yeah, he should
have been in jail for a decade.
Yeah, for that beating. Maybe he then would have calmed the fuck down.
Right?
Got a perspective on life. And it wasn't like, you know, the woman. Oh my God, dude.
All right. Hopefully you're lifting us.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Well, it's early morning depression. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so because of the rise of Nazis in America again, the bubbling up of shit that's already been there forever, I thought I would cover some old Nazi stuff.
Oh God.
Where some of this stuff came from. And I found this group called the America First Committee.
Oh no.
And so I thought I would talk about that.
Oh God, now I'm scared.
Okay. So the America First Committee, or AFC, was the foremost United States isolationist pressure group against American entry into World War II. Okay? So isolationists think that America should stand on its own. Don't help anybody else. Keep the blinders on. Only take care of Americans. That's it, right? So it was launched in September 1940, and it surpassed 800,000 members in 450 chapters at its peak. The AFC principally supported isolationism for its own sake, and its coalition included many Midwesterners, Republicans, conservatives, socialists, students, and leading industrialists, but it was controversial for the anti-Semitic and pro-fascist views of some of its most prominent speakers, leaders, and members.
Oh my God.
Very much reminds me of Republican Party, where there's a whole bunch of members, and then there's a few that are like, Nazi, 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 and the other ones are like, it's okay, like Rubio, right? Like Marco Rubio's okay with a Nazi, like, going door to door with his information. Can you imagine that? And it's like,
can you imagine that?
They just go like this.
And it's like, guess what, Rubio? That Nazi don't like you.
Yeah, and it's okay to distance yourself. That Nazi doesn't like you. And it's okay to distance yourself. It's okay to say Nazis are bad. Like, you can do that. People will still vote for you.
Can you imagine that we're in a world where people are afraid to say that Nazis are bad?
Yeah. It's true. That's how the Republican Party is today.
It's weird.
There's literally nothing you can do that they won't be like, it's all right.
It's very weird.
Yeah. American isolationism of the late 1930s had many adherents, and as historian Susan Dunn has written, quote, isolationists and anti-interventionists came in all stripes and colors, ideological, economic, ethnic, geographical, making up this eclectic coalition where farmers, union leaders, wealthy industrialists, college students, newspaper publishers, wealthy patricians, and newly arrived immigrants. There were Democrats, Republicans, socialists, communists, and anti-communist radicals, pacifists, and simple FDR haters. Much of the impetus for this isolationism came from the college students, with Yale University being a particularly strong outpost of such sentiments.
So, I have been thinking about this. I've been thinking about the Ivy Leagues. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to start calling out the Ivy Leagues.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, oh, they're these bastions of, liberalness. And that might be the case. But the people that the Ivies have pumped out
Not
the
great.
Ron DeSantis's, the Trumps. I'm sorry. A bunch of oftentimes entitled, arrogant jerks who get put in the fraternities, and we know it's this insidious web that starts with the super elite who get their kids into the super elite schools, who then get their paws into Wall Street and DC and Silicon Valley and all of that stuff. Like, it's clear to keep the money, right, at a certain level. And screw these Ivies.
I agree.
I swear to God, my son gets a full ride to Harvard. No, we don't want to go to your school.
Yeah.
Until you stop churning out monsters that are destroying our country. And stop catering to these elite assholes. I'm sorry.
The America First Committee was established on September 4th, 1940 by Yale Law School student R. Douglas Stewart, Jr., son of R. Douglas Stewart, co-founder of Quaker Oats. Stewart had been part of an earlier anti-interventionist student organization at Yale Law School, one that began in the spring of 1940 and included future President Gerald Ford, future U.S. Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart, and future diplomat Eugene Locke as signatories to an initial organizing letter. Now, listen, this doesn't mean they're anti-Semitic. It just means they think that we shouldn't get involved in other countries' problems. I kind of understand. I get part of it.
Why are we in this war? Why are we
But when we talk
this
about
thing?
World War II and mass genocide
Right.
of a people,
and that's the thing, like, that's...
Maybe we should get involved. We're a
and that's-
superpower.
Well, and that's, like, the moral question. Like, what is the obligation of one country to another country?
Right.
I mean, we see it now even with what's happening in Ukraine. Does there come a point where other countries have to step in?
Right.
I
agree.
You know what I mean? Like, it's a large question, and that's why they have, NATO. They have all these things to help deal with that. But it's a question, and some people feel like, no, we should not get involved in other countries' business because we wouldn't want a country to get involved in our business, right? Like, if we had some civil war breakout in America, would we want countries coming in and fighting with another side? That's, what I mean? Like, so I get it. Like, and which side are they choosing? It's a complicated issue. But when there's genocide, you're right.
Yeah,
when millions of people are dying, it's time to step in.
Yeah, it's clear. And like,
you have a responsibility to humankind.
Yeah. Stewart dropped out of Yale to focus on the anti-intervention cause, and during summer of 1940, he and Brewster found support for the cause among politicians in Washington and party conventions, and among corporate figures in Stewart's home area of Chicago. On September 5th, the committee was publicly launched in a national radio broadcast by retired General Hugh S. Johnson. America First chose retired Brigadier General Robert E. Wood, the 61-year-old chairman of Sears, Roebuck and Company, to preside over the committee. Organizationally, America First had an executive committee of about 7 people in size, and that took the lead in forming America First policies. It included Wood, Stewart, and several businessmen from the Midwest. There was a larger national committee which was composed of prominent individuals who supported America First's aims, which is smart. Get people who are famous to spread your message, and that's how people will join, right? Members of the National Committee included advertising executive Chester Boyles, diplomat William Richard Castle Jr., journalist John T. Flynn, writer and socialite Alice Roosevelt Longworth, who I covered on the podcast, the It Girl, military officer and politician Hanford McNeater, novelist Kathleen Norris, New Deal administrator George Peake, and World War I ace and aviation executive Eddie Rickenbacker. Over the course of the organization's existence, some 50 people were part of the National Committee. Finally, there were local chapters organized in cities and towns of various size wherever there was this anti-interventionist feeling. Serious organization and recruitment efforts took place from Chicago, the national headquarters at the time. These included the taking out of full-page advertisements in leading newspapers in various cities and playing radio broadcasts. Fundraising drives produced about $370,000 from 25,000 contributors, which was a lot of money at the time.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and you put a lot of ads out for that money.
Yeah.
Nearly half came from a few millionaires, such as William H. Regnery, from the Vic Chemical Company, General Robert E. Wood from Sears Roebuck, who was in the organization, and Joseph M. Patterson, who was a publisher of the New York Daily News. At its peak, America First claimed 800 to 850,000 members in 450 chapters, making the AFC one of the largest anti-war organizations in the history of the United States. Yeah.
But again, it's like any chapter, right? You have your main chapter, and then on the big level, and the state level, and the local level, and they did it.
Yeah.
They did it.
2/3 of the members were located within 300 miles of Chicago, because that was like the main hub. There were almost no AFC chapters in the America South, where traditions of involvement in the military were strong, right? There were a lot of the Southerners go to war. They support the military, and so they're not going to be against fighting for this country, right? They're patriots, I guess. You know what I'm saying?
Especially like coming out of World War I. And
as the AFC never had a national membership form or national dues, and local chapters were quite autonomous, historians point out that the organization's leaders really had no idea how many members they actually had. The America First Committee attracted the sympathies of political figures, including Democratic Senators Burton Wheeler of Montana, David Walsh of Massachusetts, Republican Senators Gerald Nye of North Dakota, and Henrik Shipstead of Minnesota. One of the founding members of the Wisconsin Progressive Party was also a prominent member, Philip La Follette. And they would all go around and speak at rallies. They had celebrities speaking at rallies, including actress Lillian Gish and architect Frank Lloyd Wright. Whoa. Another future president, John F. Kennedy, contributed $100 with an attached note saying, quote, "What you are doing is vital," end quote.
Okay. Wow.
So their mission. When the war began in September 1939, most Americans, including politicians, demanded neutrality regarding Europe. Okay? Although most Americans supported strong measures against Japan, Europe was the focus of the America First Committee. The public mood was changing, however, especially after the fall of France in the spring of 1940. Still, while a majority of the public favored sending material assistance to Great Britain in its fight against Nazi Germany, a majority also wanted the United States to stay out of direct participation in the war. There were various uncoordinated isolationist groups active from 1939 to 1940, but the public discourse by President Roosevelt of the Destroyers for Bases deal led to the announcement the following day, September 4th, 1940, of the America First Committee, which would become the strongest group. So basically, Roosevelt made a deal with Britain that we would give them destroyers if they let us come onto some bases that they had around the world. And so they were even against that. Like, this is just going to trickle in and make us get involved in this war.
Right. But Roosevelt gives a beautiful speech. I think it's the year later, like in 1941, where he's talking about, like, worldwide, like, people deserve freedom. And, you know?
Yes.
And it's like a State of the Union address or whatever. But because he's probably combating, like, all of these ideas that, like, you know, we have... Not that, and he's not saying there's nothing in that speech that's like we're, you know, there to enact that freedom anywhere. He's just saying, like, worldwide people deserve freedom of religion, like freedom to believe in any God they believe in, you know, freedom to have a house over your head and your needs, take freedom from fear and all of that, you know.
In its announcement, the AFC advocated 4 basic principles. The United States must build an impregnable defense of America. For America. No foreign power nor group of powers can successfully attack a prepared America. American democracy can be preserved only by keeping out of the European war. And for an aid short of war weakens national defense at home and threatens to involve America in war abroad. The America First Committee launched a petition aimed at enforcing the 1939 Neutrality Act, because I guess that was a thing that we signed that we wouldn't get involved, and forcing President Franklin D. Roosevelt to keep his pledge to keep America out of the war. The committee profoundly distrusted Roosevelt and argued that he was lying to the American people. On January 11th, 1941, the day after Roosevelt's Lend-Lease bill was submitted to the U.S. Congress, Wood promised AFC opposition with all the vigor it can exert. So this is when they wanted to use those bases, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. America First staunchly opposed the convoying of ships involved in the U.S. Navy, believing that any exchange of fire with German forces would likely pull the United States into the war. Consequently, America First objected to any material assistance to Britain and remained firm in its belief that Nazi Germany posed no military threat to the United States itself.
But
here's my point.
So they're going to take over all of Europe, and then what? They're not going to stop.
Yeah.
Right?
So they say they don't have a military threat to the United States, but my point is, what about the human beings that are being murdered by the Nazis? Right. That's the reason to get involved in the war. It has nothing to do with a United States safety. Right. It's about saving the lives of millions of Jewish people who are being murdered in ovens. Children, women, children, everyone.
I mean, but
they're overlooking the atrocity that's actually happening in Germany and spreading throughout Europe. They took over France, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. And I mean, this part, so ever since Nazi Germany, we've had genocides happening in other countries that we don't get involved in. And so that's an issue too of, why get involved in one if we're not getting involved in others. Like, do those genocides not matter as much as what was happening? And obviously they all matter, but as a military power, it's important for the United States to make sure that Europe doesn't go asunder, right? So there's also that at play too. You know what I mean? Because I think of other countries in Africa and whatnot, where genocides were happening that we didn't get involved in and protect those people. Especially
and also there's no interest for us,
and for sexuality and things like that, or and then you think of the Armenian people. It's just never ending. What are we doing?
The America First Committee was not a pacifist organization, however, and it based its beliefs around the aim that the United States would embody preparedness with a modern mechanized army and navy that would be strong in both the Atlantic and Pacific oceans. The principal pressure group opposing America First was the Committee to Defend America by Aiding the Allies, which argued that a German defeat of Britain would in fact endanger American security, and which argued that aiding the British would reduce, not increase, the likelihood of the United States being pulled into the war. Let's go in and snuff this out before it gets any worse.
Yeah, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It's right. We have interests in these countries succeeding and being profitable and being good allies against. We need them to be successful. Especially if you think
they get Europe, you have Japan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, people are worried about Poland. If Ukraine falls to Russia now, Poland's next, right? That's what people are worried about.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It spreads. The Lend-Lease bill was debated fiercely in Congress for 2 months, and the America First Committee devoted its strength towards defeating it, but with the addition of a few amendments, it was passed with solid margins in both houses of Congress and signed into law in March 1941. In the end, America First failed in all its efforts to prevent Roosevelt's increasingly close relationship with Britain and failed in its efforts to legislatively block Roosevelt's actions. Okay, so the reason why I wanted to cover this is because of the anti-Semitism that rises in this organization. And America First is something that we still hear today.
We hear it all the time.
It's and so these were kind of the origins of it. And I'm also at the end of this going to go and talk about how we still hear it today as of even this week.
Yeah.
So let's get into it.
I'm so sick of it.
I know. According to the historian Susan Dunn, well, here's the other thing. It's using anti-Semitism and race baiting in the disguise of we're trying to take care of you. Right. And so when doing this story, what I have come to, because I've been working through my thoughts about it this week, is that I don't know anything the Republican Party has done that is actually productive for working people. All they have done from here, even from the 1800s forward, is try to produce fear.
Right.
And divide us. And that's how they win. And they still do those. They have those tactics today.
The same thing today.
They do not put bills together or legislation that actually helps people. They want to divide us and put fear in us. And that's how they stay in power. What have they actually done that has benefited working class American people? Not corporations, not their rich friends. What has the Republican Party actually done besides stoking fear and dividing people and dividing us against each other?
And the best thing, it's they are openly saying how they want to take away Social Security.
Yeah,
all these things bad things that people need.
Yeah,
that their very voters need.
Yeah,
and they're not paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they're trying to do is they are trying. I mean, you said it, fascist, right?
Yeah,
with DeSantis, there was that Wisconsin governor who's basically saying if we lose an election, we didn't lose the election. If you have a leader of a state who's saying, like, I'm not going to step down, or these races are going to be contested until their people win, and they all win, right? Like, that's the plan,
right?
Is governor, and changing these state laws so that they can always remain in power despite having the majority of people not wanting them in power.
Right.
Right? And the same thing with the Electoral College. Like, why don't they want to get rid of that? Because a state like California that has more Democrats in it has the same representation as a state like Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't work anymore to what our country has, like, evolved into.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about them maintaining power and squeezing everybody out.
Yeah.
And then that majority is going to rule. And you said it last week. That when on a federal level, everybody else has to deal with DeSantis, then they're going to be like, oh shit, what did we do? And it's going to be too late by then.
Even maybe, but like, here's the thing too. I've been watching that NXIVM documentary on the NXIVM cult, like this sex cult that guy had in New York. That it's so good.
Yeah.
But the thing that I find the most fascinating is it's the same thing we see in politics, and we talk about it all the time too. Is that they know better than anybody how to manipulate us. They know how to pit us against each other as like, you may be a poor white, but at least you're not black.
It's disgusting.
They've been doing that since slave days, when slaves were given freedom and they were poor blacks started to organize with poor whites against the people they were working for in companies. White people, the rich whites came in and said to the poor whites, "We'll make you the police. You'll be the law enforcement of the town." And then the poor whites were like, "Well, fuck y'all. Fuck the poor blacks. We're not with you, even though we're the same. We're on the same. We're both being disenfranchised. We're both marginalized groups." They said "fuck you," and then abandoned their black counterpart to be given power and have their nose up about that's human. We want community. We want to be a part of something. We'll root for someone even if it goes against Herschel Walker paying for abortions. When you look at those folks in those parking lots and they're talking to them and they're like, "You think abortion is murder?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, abortion's murder." And he goes, "Well, like Herschel Walker paying for abortions." Well, and it's like if you can
it's okay for him, but no Democrat.
But how is it your moral ground? How is that your moral sticking point? It's like abortion is murder, but you are allowing news and media to twist it to where you can accept and lose your moral ground. That is fucking endlessly fascinating to me. It's endlessly fascinaing to me. Who are you as a human being if that's your thing?
Yeah.
How can you say you're okay with it?
And vote for him. They're going to vote for him.
Right.
It's the stupidest thing.
It's wild.
They won't vote for a Democrat who maybe never paid for an abortion or who says, personally, I don't believe in abortion, but I would never take away a woman's rights. Well, we can't vote for that guy, but we'll vote for the guy who's like, abortion is bad, but I'm having
multiple women
paying for women to have abortion.
Multiple women.
It doesn't make sense.
Which is fine. Great. Pay for all the people who have abortion.
Yeah. I know. I'm for it.
But also, it's fascinating. It's endlessly fascinating to me. If you can get a group of people who feel vulnerable, like they're losing I put a post up that said, Sunday, don't forget to turn your clocks back, and Tuesday, don't forget to vote because we're going to go back 50 years in this country. I saw somebody who I knew from high school, but I recently became friends with them on social media, and it said the same thing in the first part, and the second part said, I can't wait for Tuesday so that we can bring this country back to when we had respect, manners.
And I
thought to myself, that's the complete opposite of what actually is happening. They have no respect for you.
Yeah, but they have no. But their idea of what we want to go back to respect, right? Where women obey their husbands.
Yeah, when America was great. When America was great.
Like they don't.
And black people knew their place. And black people knew their place.
Give me a break.
Yeah. So
give me a break.
According to the historian Susan Dunn,
I hate everything.
Quote, seeking to brand itself as a mainstream organization, America First struggled with the problem of anti-Semitism of some of its leaders and many of its members, end quote. The group had some Jewish members at the outset. Sears heir and philanthropist Lessing J. Rosenwald was on the national committee. Former California Congresswoman Florence Prag Khan was a member, and the first publicity director for the New York chapter was Jewish. However, the automotive pioneer and infamous anti-Semite Henry Ford had joined the national committee at the same time as Rosenwald, which soon led to Rosenwald resigning. In response, America First removed Ford from the National Committee, and also tried, and also removed Avery Brundage, whose actions in the 1936 Berlin Olympics were associated with anti-Semitism. Holy shit, I looked this up. Brundage was he was a former Olympian, okay? American guy. He was the head of the Olympics when they took place in Berlin in 1936. Before that, okay, so you know how they pick Olympics like 4 years ahead of time? Oh, it's going to be in Brazil. There's a huge announcement. 4 years, we're going to be in Brazil.
And everyone's vying for that because it's exciting.
Yeah, and Berlin was chosen for 1936 before Nazis took over. Then during that time, before it happens, Nazis rise to power and people are like, we need to cancel the Olympics.
Thank you.
We should not have the Olympics there. Oh, no. Brundage is like, no. We're gonna have it. It's gonna be in Berlin. It's gonna be fine. So he refused to boycott it, continues to go on. But then, do you remember what happens then in the 1936 Berlin Olympics? 11 Israeli team members were murdered.
Yeah.
Were taken and murdered. Okay? And then, when everyone was like, we should cancel the games, 11 Olympians were just murdered. He's like, no, the games will go on. And so it was just bad.
Yeah.
He's clearly...
It's because he's doing, he's doing meth with Hitler on the side, and they're out of their minds.
They're out of their fucking minds.
You ever see that footage of Hitler where he's like...
No.
Because, they were all meth heads. They were all, like, amped up on...
Jesus Christ.
On, like, amphetamines, So, like, they were all nuts.
Oh, my God.
And the footage, he's just, like, sitting at some, like, sporting event, and he's just shaking, and it's like...
Jesus.
How are they listening to this binged out, like...
Yeah, meth head.
Meth head who's tweaking in the middle of a freaking
basically
game.
Basically somebody who we'd laugh now on Cops.
Oh my God, yeah. There he is.
It's not really funny, but I guess you know what I mean. Attempts by America First to recruit other Jewish people to the National Committee found no takers.
Yeah.
As Dunn wrote, quote, the problem of anti-Semitism remained. Some chapter leaders spewed anti-Semitic accusations while others invited anti-Semitic speakers to address their members, end quote.
Hey, come and but P.S. Do you want to come join our club?
But here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, and this is what I say to the Republican Party and any member of it and any person who's a candidate or an elected official. If you have a problem and with anti-Semitism being linked to your party, or every KKK, Proud Boys, white supremacists, and Nazis are out not only supporting you, they're parading for you, they're rooting for you, they're at the polling places, no fucking lie, in South Florida with their Proud Boy gears on, they're handing out your material, going door to door in Hialeah, handing out your material. If that's who you're associating with, you deeply need to consider what you're doing.
Yep.
It's not that bad that you need to get votes like that. You can denounce it. If you lose with honor and integrity. If Rubio lost because he said Rubio loses because he says I don't support Proud Boys, KKK, white nationalism, I don't support the Nazis, I denounce all of you, you're all fucking horrible human beings, right? If he were to do that, he would lose votes. I think he would still win, to be honest. But he would lose votes.
Right.
And that's okay.
But he wouldn't lose that many, I'm just saying,
it's
the infiltration. It's the infiltration of these, and we have seen it. We have seen it in Broward from when we first did Women's March.
Yeah.
Do you remember that event that we were at? Were you there at the Pride Museum when those guys came in with the?
Yeah, I was at that class. It was a class. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there too.
You were?
Yeah, where they came in and they stood there, and I was like looking around, like, where am I going? What? Yeah. And the poor speaker standing. I was like, what is happening right now?
I can't believe you were at that class. That's so weird.
Yeah. So this is.
It's so weird. So there weren't that many people there. Yeah. That's awesome.
So, this is happening. This is happening in our counties. It's happening all across. Because if it can happen in Broward.
Yeah.
It's happening everywhere.
Yeah.
Think about the smaller places that they're again, it's this insidious web.
I just know this. If we started having followers that were pro-Nazis and they were commenting on our posts, like, you guys are great, we love white women, white power, I'd be like, we need to cancel the podcast. Yeah. Because we're appealing to people we don't want to be associated with. You know what I mean? Like, we don't support this.
No.
So, like, start questioning. But you know what? They don't do that. They fucking lean into it. They lean into it.
And everybody falls in line.
Yeah. So the world-famous American aviator Charles Lindbergh was admired in Germany and was allowed to see the buildup of the German Air Force in Luftwaffe in 1937. He had been living in Germany, became friends with Nazis. He loved the Nazi party. He was a fucking famous anti-Semitic Nazi, Charles Lindbergh. Did you know this? Like, awful fucking human being.
I didn't know.
He was impressed by its strength and secretly reported his findings to the General Staff of the U.S. Army, warning them that the U.S. had fallen behind and that it must urgently build up its aviation. Lindbergh, who had feuded with the Roosevelt administration for years, delivered his first radio speech on September 15th, 1939, through all three major radio networks, which is how people got their information, right?
Well, they would sit, by the radio and listen.
Listen to what he says. Voicing his belief that people of Northern and Western European descent were the safeguards of civilization, red flag, dog whistle, against Asia, his speech argued that instead of fighting, all of Europe and the United States should, quote, defend the white race against foreign invasion, end quote.
Oh. Okay.
For the first half of America First's 15 months of existence, the group and Lindbergh kept at arm's length from each other, as Stewart was leery of being too closely associated with some of the extreme views of Lindbergh's circle. Wood, however, wanted to bring Lindbergh on, and on April 10th, 1941, it was agreed that Lindbergh would join the National Committee, with the aviator's first rally appearance taking place on April 17th at the Chicago Arena. Once he did join, Lindbergh became America First's most prominent speaker. His involvement significantly increased rally attendance and organization membership, but it also greatly increased the level of criticism that America First faced from interventionists and from the Roosevelt administration. On June 20th, 1941, Lindbergh spoke to 30,000 people in Los Angeles, and it was billed as, it was called the Peace and Preparedness Mass Meeting.
Wow.
Lindbergh criticized the movements that he perceived were leading America into the war and proclaimed that the U.S. was in a position that made it virtually impregnable. He also claimed that the interventionists and the British who called for the defense of England really meant the defeat of Germany. That's right! Germany is being led by Nazis! We want to kill it! We want to fucking beat them.
We want to
What is wrong with you?
The snake
and how in what fucking universe do you not understand that the defeat of Germany also means saving the lives of millions of people?
They don't care.
That they're putting in ovens children, because of their religion. What the fuck? It's not saving Germany, it's beating the Nazis. It's defeating Nazis.
I think really
fucking asshole.
Everybody needs to read the book Night by Wiesel.
Mm-hmm.
Because he does a whole account of his time from when he's 15 years old through all the concentration camps. And it's a beautiful story, and it's so damn sad. And in the beginning, he's like this kid that he wants to take all these lessons and love God. And then in the middle, like this horrific thing happens, and he goes, there's God.
Yeah.
Hanging dead.
Yeah.
That's what God is. God is dead. And he loses his entire faith. His entire belief in God disappears. And when you read his horrific account, and everyone, and it's not, of course, now it's like schools are banning it because God forbid that we like learn and read something, and
remember so it doesn't get repeated.
This book repeatedly, and it's hard for kids.
Yeah.
Some of the scenes are horrific with babies.
Yeah.
And it's horrific. It's horrific. But there's good conversations to be had about it.
Of course. This is why we read these things, so we don't repeat them. I heard Ricky Gervais tell this joke on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Jerry Seinfeld, and I don't remember if he said if it was his joke or if it was somebody else's joke. It's an incredible joke. You ready? This guy, this Jewish Holocaust survivor, dies and goes to heaven, and he walks through the pearly gates and he sees God, and he says to God, the Holocaust was horrible. It's like murder and on and on, going on and on about it. And God's like, yeah, that sounds terrible. And the guy says, well, I guess you had to be there.
It's true.
right? How are you believing in all of this?
Anybody,
how?
I know.
If you're praying to a God, and this is the suffering that happens.
I mean, and I remember reading like Diary of Anne Frank in middle school and like crying at the end of that book. And like, you know, like I don't understand like that people can't. I'm like a mess today emotionally, but like I just don't understand why there is so much hate in people's hearts. Like I don't get it. I understand that it's all like stemming from fear, but like what kind of party is celebrating that?
Or using that fear and manipulating it to stay in power. It's evil shit.
Yeah.
It's evil to align yourselves with folks who are doing and thinking evil things.
Right.
To stay in power is out. That's not the reason you should be in office. That's not the reason you ever ran for office.
Think it's funny.
That's not the reason. It's incredible. And if that's who you're aligning yourself with, you really need to do a reality check.
Yeah.
Like there's other work. You can do another job. But if you should be ashamed if you're part of a party that is supported actively today in 2022 by Nazis.
Get out.
You need to leave that party, abandon it at will, or
force them out.
Fight.
Force them out.
Fight it. That's what you need to do. If you believe in the Republican message of small government, less government, which is what they're supposed to be, that's what I always knew, right?
It's like the biggest joke.
If you think the government takes too much money in our taxes, all those things, if that's what you believe, then fight for your party. Don't bend at will to people like Donald Trump or Roger Stone or Nazis or Proud Boys or whoever. You're doing the wrong thing and it doesn't sit well. And in the end, you are ruining this country. You're putting drag shows in. There's people firebombing donut shops for having a drag show in Louisiana. You're doing the wrong thing, and your message and what you're supporting breeds violence and hate, and it's not necessary.
It's not. And let's talk about the drag show. Did you see that woman? She did this post where she says, I forget what state, maybe Louisiana.
Oh.
Where she says, you know, I've never been raped at a drag show, but I've been raped in church twice.
Yeah.
And been told that it's her fault.
Right.
Right? That's religion.
Yeah.
Institutions.
Yeah.
Right there.
It's
always the women's fault.
Yeah.
We cover it all up. And nobody talks about that evil. Right? We just have to accept God. Give me a break.
Fuck off.
I'm over it.
Fuck you. Okay, a speech that Lindbergh delivered to a rally in Des Moines, Iowa on September 11th, 1941 may have significantly raised tensions. He identified the forces pulling America into the war as the British, the Roosevelt administration, and American Jews.
Wow.
While he expressed sympathy for the plight of the Jews in Germany.
Oh. Did he?
He argued that that America's entry into the war would serve them a little better.
Oh.
Here's this speech. It's a little bit long, but here we go. It's a part of a speech. Okay, are you ready? Quote, "It is not difficult to understand why Jewish people desire the overthrow of Nazi Germany. The persecution they suffered in Germany would be sufficient to make bitter enemies of any race. No person with a sense of the dignity of mankind can condone the persecution the Jewish race suffered in Germany. But no person of honesty and vision can look on their pro-war policy here today without seeing the dangers involved in such a policy, both for us and for them. Instead of agitating for war, the Jewish groups in this country should be opposing it in every possible way, for they will be among the first to feel its consequences."
Wow.
Which is, to me, a threat.
Yeah.
"Tolerance is a virtue that depends upon peace and strength. History shows that it cannot survive war and devastation. A few far-sighted Jewish people realize that this and stand opposed to intervention, but the majority still do not. The greatest danger to this country lies in their large ownership and influence in our motion pictures, our press, our radio, and our government," end quote. Which it's a threat. If you continue to do this, if you send our boys to war and they die, here in America, we're going to take it out on the Jewish people here. That's a threat.
It's a mess.
If we go to war, they're going to pay for it.
What a disgusting speech.
Many condemned this speech as anti-Semitic. Journalist Dorothy Thompson wrote for the New York Herald an opinion that many shared, quote, "I am absolutely certain that Lindbergh is pro-Nazi," end quote. Republican presidential candidate Wendell Willkie criticized the speech as, quote, the most un-American talk made in my time by any person of national reputation, end quote.
Wow.
That's a Republican presidential candidate who had some fucking balls. I don't know much about him. I'm sure he's crazy as hell, whatever. I don't know. But wow. That's what you're supposed to say.
Yeah.
When you see Nazis holding banners in Orlando, DeSantis, don't take 2 days. Right. The minute you fucking see it, you say, this is un-American and we don't fucking stand for that in Florida.
And when things happen in Jacksonville in our state's capital.
He doesn't do it. Doesn't denounce it.
Because he's afraid or he's just purely a fascist evil dictator.
Yeah, and he wants it. He wants to hang on to them. Because he knows that using them will keep him in power.
Well, remember,
it's evil.
God appointed him.
Oh, I forgot. God must be a Nazi.
Yeah. God is a Nazi.
Can that be the title of this episode? I'm going to write it down, and then we're going to discuss it, and it's going to be a no, but I'm writing it down anyway. In the end, Lindbergh's remarks hurt the cause of the isolationists. During the period after Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union had signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop non-aggressive pact, most American communists were opposed to the United States entering World War II, and they tried to infiltrate or take over America first. So Germany and Russia Nazi Germany and Soviet Union come together and they sign saying, all right, we're not going to invade you. You're not going to invade us. Russia's like, keep going about your business. We won't bother with you.
Sure.
Yeah. But after June 1941, when Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union, they reversed positions and denounced the AFC as a Nazi front, a group infiltrated by German agents.
Oh my God.
The aviator and orator Laura Ingalls' pro-Nazi rhetoric and straight-armed Nazi salutes on her first America First speaking tour worried the group's leadership, but they allowed her to continue because of praise from local chapters where she had spoken. Oh. So people are like, she's a Nazi, she's giving a fucking Nazi salute here, and they're like, it's all right, the people like her, what do you want me to do?
Wow.
Yeah. When Ingalls was arrested in December 1941 and put on trial for being an unregistered Nazi agent, the prosecution revealed that her handler, German diplomat Ulrich Freiherr von Giethenhoff, had encouraged her to participate in AFC activities.
Wow.
So the Nazis saw this as a pro-Nazi group and was like, get in there and start spreading our fucking message across America.
Wow.
Various historians have described attempts to keep Nazi and fascist sympathizers out of the chapter as not always successful. Author Max Wallace argues that by summer 1941, extremist elements had successfully hijacked the movement. Okay, but then what happens, right? After the attack of Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, AFC canceled a rally with Lindbergh at Boston Garden, quote, in view of recent critical developments, and the organization's leaders announced their support of the war effort. Lindbergh gave this rationale. Listen to this turn of events. Quote, we have been stepping closer to war for many months. Now it has come and we must meet it as united Americans, regardless of our attitude in the past toward the policy our government has followed. Whether or not that policy has been wise, our country has been attacked by force of arms, and by force of arms we must retaliate, end quote.
So, so when it comes to that.
Now it's come to our land, our shores.
Now we have to
come.
Right.
Meanwhile, millions of people have died in Germany and across Europe, in France, across Europe. And we've done nothing to help them. But now.
But guess what? I feel like today.
Same thing.
There would not be that turnaround, though.
No, probably
not. They would not admit that they were wrong.
Right.
They would probably stand even firmer still somehow.
You're right. With the formal declaration of war against Japan, the organization chose to disband. On December 11th, the committee leaders met and voted for dissolution the same day upon which Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. In a statement released to the press, the AFC wrote, quote, our principles were right. Had they been followed, war could have been avoided. No good purpose can now be served by considering what might have been had our objectives been attained. We are at war. Today, though there may be many important subsidiary considerations, the primary objective is not difficult to state. It can be completely defined in one word, victory, end quote. Once war was declared, the national leaders of the America First Committee supported the United States war effort, with many serving in some capacity. Similarly, many of the leaders of local chapters volunteered for service in the armed forces, while a few continued to involve themselves in anti-war actions. And, that's that. So, okay. So,
wow.
Doing this story, I started, everything. I wanted to read everything about America First. And the slogan America First, was first used in the 1800s in America. Oh. Many politicians who want to appeal to a certain demographic use this term to stir up emotions and feelings, but the root of it is always us versus them, right? And it is used to divide people, which as an actor on a global stage, I think is nonsense and dangerous. With the rise of the Second Klan between 1915 and the mid-1920s in America, they adopted the America First slogan, the Klan, right? They carried it on banners and parades, they used it in advertisements, and even claimed they owned the copyright, which they don't. Then we see the use by the forming of the America First Committee leading up to World War II. That was clearly anti-Semitic. And then today, on April 27th, 2016, in a speech outlining his foreign policy goals, candidate Donald Trump said, quote, this is the beginning of his campaign. He said, quote, my foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people and American security above all else. That will be the foundation of every decision that I will make. America first will be the major and overriding theme of my administration, end quote. But let us not forget who was writing his speeches.
Yep.
Mr. Stephen Miller.
Yep.
Okay? Stephen Miller, if Tina, who covered him on episode 25 of this podcast, you should please go listen to it. He was known, even in high school, as being a hardline conservative, anti-immigration, and an isolationist.
Yeah.
Okay? In November 2019, the Southern Poverty Law Center acquired more than 900 emails that Miller had sent to Breitbart news writer Katie McHugh between 2015 and 2016. The emails became the basis of an expose that showed that Miller had enthusiastically pushed the views of white nationalist publications such as American Renaissance and VDare, as well as the far-right conspiracy websites InfoWars, and promoted the Camp of the Saints, a French novel circulating among neo-Nazis, shaping both White House policy and Breitbart's coverage of racial politics.
Can you imagine this?
In the White House. In our fucking White House.
I know.
In our fucking government.
A bunch of racist assholes.
Right. So, and
dangerous people.
Absolutely.
Dangerous people.
Absolutely dangerous people. So, what made me really annoyed this week is that on April 7th, 2021, Stephen Miller, he's out. He launches a PAC. Okay? It's a legal or conservative legal organization.
I'm sick of these PACs. Get rid of all the damn PACs.
Do you know what it's called?
America First.
America First Legal Foundation. He knows his history.
Yeah.
He knows what the connotations of America First, and that's why he planted it in speeches. That's why he started this organization. And they have ads in media markets all around the country, but specifically in Georgia. And so right now, in Georgia, this week, is an ad playing. It's 2022, and I'm going to play you that ad.
Oh my God.
Are you ready?
I don't know.
Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, girl. Here we go.
Racism against white people become okay. Joe Biden put white people last in line for COVID relief funds. Kamala Harris said disaster aid should go to non-white citizens first. Liberal politicians block access to medicine based on skin color. Progressive corporations, airlines, universities all openly discriminate against white Americans. Racism is always wrong. The left's anti-white bigotry must stop. We are all entitled to equal treatment under law. America First Legal paid for this ad.
Oh my God, that's the funniest ad I've ever seen in my life. White people get anything.
Oh, wait a minute.
Where have you been living?
Wait a minute.
Where have we been living?
It's very easy to mock this ad.
I know.
But
it's scary.
It is playing
frightening.
In areas where poor whites watch television.
Right.
And it is extremely dangerous.
Oh no, we're starting a race war.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is nonsense. It is funny because it's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Crazy. And the people in the ad are,
Yeah.
But none of that is true. None of that is true.
None of it's
White people being blocked from taking medication.
Nope. By the way,
or white people dying in the hospital of COVID. That's because guess what? They didn't get the vaccine. And they're taking your horse tranquilizer. Yeah, that's why they're dying.
Why didn't they?
Because you guys are idiots.
Why didn't they take the vaccine?
I don't know.
Do you remember? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Who pushed that? Who pushed
the president of the United States?
Who was a Republican.
And a racist.
And he pushed it saying, this is not safe.
All these people are dying.
Yeah.
And then the whole
Fox News, Republican electeds, Republican local electeds. Nobody took, COVID's not real. COVID's not real. COVID vaccines are dangerous and they're going to manipulate your children's bodies. It's not safe. And they all start dying.
Yeah. And that whole university thing, like, so I'm sorry, but we can look historically that decades it has been white people who have had access to university and higher education. And now that the playing field is a little more level, it's not that that they're discriminating against white students. They're looking at all students equally and taking the best students. And guess what? Sorry, Johnny maybe can't go to Harvard this year. You know what I mean? But he's going to go somewhere. Like, give me a break. Well, like, oh my God, my kid didn't get into their first choice. It's racism. No, there was someone who was better. Like, oh well.
Well, that's the other thing. They pit us. It's us versus them.
It's stupid.
It's not your fault that this is happening. It's a black person's fault that this is happening. It's not your fault that your company, had to lay you off. It's the Jews' fault. Right? Because it can never be
companies are hiring white people.
For the party that wants you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, they want to teach you to not have individual responsibility either. My God. It's not your fault that this happened. It's their fault.
Yeah. Other people are taking your jobs. Give me a break.
Right. And
Give me a break.
You know what I mean? And so
P.S. the Biden administration has created more jobs.
By the way,
they have created more jobs in these 2 years.
Hillary Cassell
have created way more jobs than Trump ever did.
She said
Trump was like the lowest. One of the lowest, I'm sorry, in job creation.
I keep interrupting you. I'm like, Hillary Cassell said there's a 17-minute video and it's everything the Biden administration has done in the last 2 years. And she's like, you have to watch it. Like, that's what we need to be putting out.
Yeah.
Like, it's a 17-minute video and it has to be long because there's so much. There's so much. But you know what? I don't ever hear it. Like, I don't even know that video existed. And I'm, like, involved in all of this. Like, I have no idea this thing even was a thing.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how to sell ourselves. Sell that ass. You know what I mean? You got a hot ass. Sell it, bitch.
That video, I don't even know what to say about it. I can't believe that it's even
airing.
But then with these packs, it's like there's lies in it, right? Like, how does someone discern against a lie? There's some grandma sitting in the middle of the Midwest, right? And this comes on. She's watching, I don't know what she's watching. Wheel of Fortune. She's watching the soap still on. The stories. Are the stories still on? So in the middle of the stories, here comes this ad, and she's like, "Oh my God, there's discrimination against white people, and now we're scared again, right?" Yeah. It's like with that movie, that stupid, the Klan movie that came out that like instilled all that fear, The Birth of a Nation, right? Oh. Right, like it's like the same thing. So they used film because that was like everyone was going to the movies. Now we just put it into people's homes. Yeah. And who's the fact checker?
Yeah. But also, usually at the end of this commercial, like paid for by DeSantis, right? Like it says who's first. This was very clear. Paid for by America First Legal Foundation or whatever it was, right? Wow. Very, very loud and clear that they want you to make sure you hear America first.
Can't believe that
it's a dog whistle. It's a clear dog whistle. I
can't believe that commercial
right now. And okay, so here's the other thing I thought of when I was doing this. America First has been around since the 1800s. When I say the Republicans haven't done anything, here's the other thing about Republicans and all of this kind of shit where they try to pit us against each other. They have no original idea ever. They are only ever, we have done this on the podcast, recycling the same fucking bullshit over and over and over again.
It's easy to sell.
For over 200 years. 200 years! They are just recycling fear, public safety, us versus them. That is their MO from the get-go, motherfuckers. From the get-go.
How do people just...
That's the name of the game. That's it.
How are you Republican? I don't get it.
I don't either.
Like, I don't get it.
It's wild to me. But it's
not
also...
that Democrats are any better, but I feel like we criticize Democrats a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen. Well, here's the thing.
Which is what you're supposed to do.
The other thing is this. This should be easy to combat.
Yeah.
But with all of this that we're talking about right now, let's see what happens on Tuesday.
Oh, God.
Let's see what happens nationwide on Tuesday.
Look, I'm doing the sign of the cross.
Yeah, listen, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, let's see what happens. Because, honestly, that message sells. and we don't have a message that beats it, which is astounding.
We don't have a message.
It's astounding that we can't beat that fucking hate-filled message.
I know.
What? We can't beat that?
Well, we don't have a clear, and we've talked about this before, we don't have a solid repetition. They repeat, and everybody repeats it. It's like, here's what we're going to say, and then you hear every politician from the local level up repeating those phrases. We don't have that in the Democratic Party, because when you're repeating, when you're saying something in a speech, then it sticks to people's minds.
Right.
And we're so all over the place with so many issues that we can't unify.
Yeah.
So there needs to be we need to take our leaders and put them in a bunker,
their heads together like Mo,
in a bunker for 2 months. Say you're not coming out unless there's a plan.
Yeah.
We'll send food down to you. Yeah. You're not coming out until you come up with a strategy.
Right.
Read some history books. Figure it out. Like, make a plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan. Go in your bunker.
Well, like at the end of the day,
who are we putting in the bunker?
Like at the end of the day,
that's the problem. We have nobody.
Also, like, don't swallow the fucking bullshit about Democrats either. If this is who we're looking up to as people, this is not all Democrats. We have incredible leaders, but unfortunately, they're under this umbrella of failure, because our leaders are failures. They're failures, and
people don't like to be on the losing team all the time.
I'm getting texts from fucking Fetterman. I'm getting texts from Tim Ryan in Ohio. Fuck you. Good luck. Bafangul. You know what I'm saying? Go fuck yourself. I live in Florida, motherfucker. I've lived under DeSantis. I've lived under Rick Scott. Trump is my fucking neighbor. You think I'm sending money to Pennsylvania and Ohio? Go fuck yourself.
They need a better strategy.
How fucking dare you? How dare you?
They need a better strategy.
Is Charlie Crist asking for money from people in... from people in Ohio? Are there texts going out asking people around the country to help Florida? Bitch, please. There's fucking nobody asking for money from Florida. We are dying here. Yeah. We are on the fucking last gasp of fucking democracy. They're banning fucking books in Blue Broward County. You can't go and look at a book that's got a picture of fucking Martin Luther King Jr. because it makes white children uncomfortable.
I don't even know what to say.
You want to know how uncomfortable I make my children? I was telling Simon last night. Let me tell you what I fucking did.
Telling
Simon last night. That when I went to Washington, D.C. with my children, and we were standing in the rotunda that's in the house, and they had all these statues, right, of marble statues of our fucking great leaders of this fucking shithole country. And there was a bust the size of this table of the three suffragettes, like Katie Stanton, I think it was, or what's her name?
Susan B. Anthony.
Susan B. Anthony. And my daughter's like, and I said, oh, these white suffragists. And I looked at her and I said, they're traitors.
Yeah.
They're traitors. They left black women behind because white men did again what they always do. They said, we'll give you something, but fuck the black women. Right. And the white women said, sure.
After
they're
black
fucking
women
traitors.
helped them the entire time.
By the way, that's the fucking education that our children need.
Right.
We need to understand why there is there's black struggle in this country.
Right.
And it's more than, and it goes beyond slavery. It goes beyond that. It starts there, but it goes beyond. Because white men and women have always done this.
Right.
When you look at who's doing us versus them, it's fucking white people. And my children who are white are gonna fucking know it.
Same.
Whether you teach that shit in school or not, believe me, motherfucker, you're not gonna get America first past my fucking kids. Ugh, sorry.
And why is all of this a bad thing? I still don't understand. I don't understand why learning about history and the real history is a bad thing. So what?
It's supposed to be.
What?
By the way,
you feel bad? Okay, feel bad.
You should feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
We fucking took human beings from another country, and some of them who did not want to come here and be slaves jumped off the ships and would rather drown in the ocean than come and work here as slaves. We enslaved these human beings, raped their women and children, and let them starve to death and buried them in mass graves. Like we committed mass genocide in this country against indigenous people.
Yeah.
And then corralled them to a corner.
Yeah,
indigenous women
push them out.
Indigenous women, in order to avoid their children being raised in this horrific thing, were drowning their babies in rivers. Indigenous women, I will repeat it, drown their babies in rivers so that they didn't have to live under white people's rule of this country that they stole.
Right.
That is the history of this country. And why is
that wrong to teach?
And by the way, if my children, if your children don't feel uncomfortable, they're sociopaths. They're supposed to feel uncomfortable so that they don't ever repeat the same atrocities that we, our people, as white people, have committed here.
And have empathy.
Absolutely.
There's
understand with how we got here. It's not for black people being lazy. It's not because indigenous people are drunks.
Right.
Or whatever they're trying to sell.
Yeah. And it's not just like, and the purpose isn't like we're here to make white people feel bad. It's just like, no, this is really the history. Deal with it. Like no one is like, oh, you know, I don't get it.
I didn't enslave black people. I did not do that. But I know that my ancestors did. And I understand the history of where we are, how we got here. And isn't anyone curious about that? Yeah, aren't you curious about how we got here? I mean, what is this?
I don't know.
I don't get it. Are we long? I saw Tina look at the clock.
We are an hour and 44 minutes.
All right. Well, anyway.
Bye.
I wanted to do this story to make 2 points. One, that all right, 3 points. One, we're better than this. We are. Yeah. We gotta be better than this. Otherwise, it will continue. It will continue. So that's number one. Number two, be aware of the dog whistles. Make the red flags known. If you hear your family talking like this at Thanksgiving or posting shit like this or reposting stuff like this, please make them aware that they are supporting and sharing the views of Nazis. And ask them if that's who they are, okay? And number three, that the Republicans don't really have anything. They've got old recycled ideas from the fucking Civil War days. Like, what else have they given you? What else have they given you to believe in? Besides hate and fear-mongering and division. What else have they given you? Tell me. I'd love to know. I'd love to know.
Who wants to be on the side of hate and fear?
I want progress. I want hope. I want movement in a direction that this country is great. And when America was great, we had industrialists, we had ideas, we had a future, we had hope, we had an American dream, we had all of those things. What the fuck are the Republicans offering you but fear and hate? What else are they giving you?
Right, but to them, that's power, right? Like you said.
Power for a few individuals versus the people who are struggling. I'll lose my house if my insurance goes $1,000 more. I'll lose my house. And then what? Where are my kids? What are we doing?
Right.
What are we going to do? And so what?
They don't care. Yeah, you know the issues that matter don't matter. You know what I mean? They pretend like we care about these issues, but they don't.
No.
Because if they cared about it, they wouldn't appease to corporations and companies. Like, that's all the breaks that they do, the Republicans. They don't do anything for us as people. Yeah. They don't.
No. I can't point to anything.
It's all about money. It's
cut spending, but then where's the money going? It's going back to corporations.
It's going
You're
back
not
to
cutting
corporations.
who they think is going to trickle it down to the workers. Bitch, please.
I need a break.
When have you ever seen that happen? All right, I gotta go.
Okay.
Hey, bye.